All right, now that we have a blank tied, it is time to scrape. Before we scrape, I need to clip off the ears. The ears are these little corners of the cane that didn't come off on the shaper tip. And again, I don't have much on this side, but that'll be okay because I think 70 millimeters, yeah, it's gonna be fine. Anyways, so what I do is I turn the cane around, hold it like this. I take my knife edge and I just slide the knife edge. I start a little bit low so that I follow the edge of the shaper and just pare it off like that. Usually I take a couple passes at this just to make sure it's nice and clean. And again here, taking that little bit off. Okay. Then what I like to do is I take some very, very fine sandpaper, put it flat on the table. This is 2000 grit, wet or dry. And I like to just put the cork part of the staple flat on here. And with this shaper tip, that aligns the top part of the shape parallel to the table. And I just give it a little polish there, turn it around, give it a little polish there. And then it's fairly nice and even. Now I do have a little bit of, hopefully I can make this focus, a little bit of gap up at the top of my reed on one side. It's not so much there. You can see it over there. That is not of concern to me. I don't consider that a leak. That will go away when I scrape and clip. So to begin scraping, I like to scrape with a mandrel. I just find it more comfortable. And one thing I want to say about scraping, and I'll repeat this at every step, try to do each of these steps relatively quickly with a sharp knife. Not only is it better for the cane to not be squished and bombarded by a dull knife for hours, it's better for your mental health, and you know, you have other things to go do other than make reeds. So we try to do this relatively quickly and concisely. So I hold it like this, put the mandrel in my hand like that, and hold the reed like this. My first scrapes, I just want to get the bark off from about where it's, you know, where it's going to be down here. I leave the bark first 4 or 5 millimeters down here, all the way off the tip. And that's also why I'm not concerned about that little chip, because that's just bark. That is not really going to the cane. Okay, so long scrapes, I like to leave my thumb at the end, put the knife here, and just scrape long scrapes off the tip of the reed. I do this on the right side, left side, flip it over, right side, left side. So I've done the right side here. I'll do the left side there. And I'll flip it over and repeat the process. Again, this is just getting the bark off. It doesn't have to be super beautiful or super clean. Okay, just getting the bark off. Next step is what we call creating the slope, and that's why that's the title of this video. This is a very, very important step. Right now, we do have some slope to the reed, and by slope I mean, if we think of it as a hill, it's up top of the hill, going down the hill, okay? I need to increase the slope towards the tip, starting maybe 2/3 of the way from the tip, somewhere in here, which is where the transition from heart to tip will take place. This depends on the length of your blank. This blank is fairly short. It's only about 71 and a half millimeters long. If your blank is 74 millimeters long, your slope transition that I'm about to do will have to take up more of the reed, okay? So here, I'll do the same sort of scraping, but I'm gonna start about here, right about there, and go off the end of the reed, just lightly a couple of times so that I get a little bit more slope to that top portion of the reed. And notice I am not leaving a chunk of cane at the end. This is just cane feathers. But there's no bulk of cane at the end of this reed. And again, this step doesn't have to be pretty, but you need to accentuate the slope towards the tip of the reed. Now, how much of that do you do? Well, we don't really know at this point. The vibrations and action of the reed in the crow and in the oboe is what's going to tell us how much slope we need. I like to err on the side of less slope at this point because you can always take more cane off. You can't put it back. But you do need some slope to begin with before you make your tip, which is our next step. So I'll see you there.